Abraham combines head, heart, and soul in a way that's incredibly powerful. He thinks so deeply when it comes to analyzing life in the world, but he also thinks with so much heart. He understands emotions and how they run through each of us and shift and color how we perceive the world. He's also so deeply soulful, and that comes across beautifully in his writing.
His voice has become very important and powerful in the world because of his influence on medicine. It translates into his writing because he brings that same humanity of caring and relationship and deep observation.
He was born in 1955 in Ethiopia. Parents who were both professors moved to America, has a deep connection with South India. You know, Abraham is really a citizen of the world.
I think of him as being the more adventurous one, more willing to bend the rules. He would do things that I wouldn't dream of doing. It's amazing to me that he's found the time through all his medicine and all of the living to make time for the writing. I think it's that creative energy which came out as rebelliousness in his earlier years.
I first met Abraham through his books. My Own Country was the very first book that I read. It spoke to me in such a deep and profound way because he spoke about his immigrant experience as a physician, and I actually saw my own father's story in that. But it was also powerful for me to see this Indian-American physician communicating his experiences with the world. It gave me an immense sense of pride, and it made me think that perhaps one day I might be able to do what he did.
AIDS simply did not fit into this picture we had of our town. You could shop in the mall, cut your hair in Parks and Belk, pick up milk in the Piggly Wiggly, bowl at Holiday Lanes, find bawdy entertainment at the Hourglass Lounge, and never know that one of my patients was seated right next to you, or serving you, or brushing past you in the parking lot, a deadly virus in his or her body that was no threat to you, but might nevertheless cause you to stand up and scream if you knew how close it was. My problem was the opposite. I saw AIDS everywhere in the fabric of the town.
I was a medical student when the first cases of HIV were being reported, and it was a frightening time. So then going and reading Abraham's book, incredibly moving, incredibly powerful.
It was at a time when we didn't have a solution to AIDS. The doctor can't solve the medical problem, but is a critical connection to the patient, supporting the patient, giving them hope.
That experience of people dying, despite his every effort, had a major impact.
He talks about bringing these young men who are dying together with their parents again, to reunite the family that had been broken apart by the choices that the family had made with these young men and their sexual preferences.
I think he felt there was more to be done, and he wanted the writing to be an important part of it. It may have been surprising that he would take a pause from the medicine and go to Iowa for the writer's workshop experience, but that showed you the depth of his commitment.
Writing, which is not something that would traditionally was valued in the medical profession beyond writing research publications, that takes real clarity to know that's a destination that you want to go in. That takes courage too, because it can be a lonely path.
There are two El Pasos. One is visible from the highway, an El Paso that a trucker traversing America on Interstate 10 from Jacksonville to Los Angeles might see and find nothing to distinguish it from any other American city but for the way it and the Franklin Mountains spring out of the parched and desolate land. He might catch glimpses of the Rio Grande bordering the freeway, and beyond that see houses in Juarez, Mexico, sitting on a rise. And to the trucker's eyes, what little desert he can see past the strip malls and billboards is occupied by bulldozers and cement mixers that are paving over cactus and creosote. And then, 15 or so exits later, the vision is gone, a forgettable mirage, perhaps.
It's a story of like male friendship, moving from a mentor to a friend, and the kind of vulnerability that all doctors maybe have behind their white coats.
He's reminding us all the time that all of us have the capacity to heal because we have the capacity to love.
I think his legacy in part is trying to get physicians to be more attuned to what patients need.
Putting your hands on people, feel and examine what they're going through, because we all feel detached by technology.
I have a vest on today that has presence on it. That's the center that Abraham created on campus to really explore the art and the science of human connection.
He combines his incredible life experience to his training as a writer, being able to convey his experience and to allow us to understand the world much better.
His work as a physician has given him a terrific power of observation and also great empathy. And those are two great things for a fiction writer to have.
The plane descended, slipping into and out of the scattered clouds over Addis Ababa. The dense forests of eucalyptus trees at first concealed the city. Emperor Menelik had imported eucalyptus years before from Madagascar, not for its oil, but as firewood, the lack of which had almost made him abandon his capital city. Eucalyptus had thrived in the Ethiopian soil, and it grew rapidly. The trees revealed clearings with circular, thatch-roofed tukuls and a thorn enclosure to keep the animals penned in. Then, at the edge of the city, she saw corrugated tin-roofed houses, abundant and closer together. A church with a short spire came into view, and then the city proper. There was Churchill Road, starting at the railway station and making a steep rise to the piazza, with a handful of cars and buses plying its slope. This glimpse of the city center, which looked so modern, made her think of Emperor Haile Selassie. He'd brought about more change in his reign than the country had undergone in 3 centuries.
Cutting for Stone felt very close. A lot of it is set in Ethiopia, another part set in Madras. The book certainly felt very alive and real to me, and it was wonderful to see how it had the same effect on lots of other people. His talent as a writer, it's not just the technical talent, but the imagination. It's kind of breathtaking to see what he imagines and conjures up.
The skill and ability to create a whole world and to have that authority and that voice that the reader's going to trust, that's an amazing gift.
His ability to describe how people react in the world is profound.
He's an extraordinary stylist. Even the nonfiction has some of the cadences of fiction. He's able to understand how a sentence can be beautiful, but not to go over the top. But then he brings this incredible empathy. The books are so moving because you care for these characters because he's imbued them with life.
A fantastic storyteller. Tolstoy, Dickens, I mean, just he's in that league. He's writing books that are going to endure, in my opinion.
The home of the young bride and her widower groom lies in Travancore, at the southern tip of India, sandwiched between the Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats, that long mountain range that runs parallel to the western coast. The land is shaped by water, and its people united by a common language, Malayalam. Where the sea meets white beach, it thrusts fingers inland to intertwine with the rivers snaking down the green canopied slopes of the Ghats. It is a child's fantasy world of rivulets and canals, a latticework of lakes and lagoons, a maze of backwaters and bottle green lotus ponds, a vast circulatory system, because, as her father used to say, all water is connected.
No exaggeration, no hyperbole here. It's a masterpiece.
You can feel when a book is starting to gather momentum, but being picked by Oprah, that's the book God's really smiling on you.
She loves this book. I think, does she love it even more than I do? Is it possible? But maybe.
The Covenant of Water! Whoop, 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 whoop.
I think there is something very special about someone looking at life with a perspective and condensing it for you in a certain story and reminding you about the things that really matter. I found reading Abraham's books a humbling experience because you realize so much of what people have gone through and it makes you reflect on your own life.
He's a world citizen, and his fiction reflects that. It takes you inside worlds that you have not been to and illuminates them in a way that helps us all understand the world better.
A writer in the world makes me think of a writer who can actually sit in the experiences that we are all having, process them, and then share them for the benefit of the world. And that is, to a T, what Abraham does so beautifully.